Hey traders, Akil Stokes here, and welcome to the Trading Coach Podcast. They say success takes time, but for some reason in trading, people seem to think the exact opposite. You see, we're stuck in this world where a lot of people require instant gratification, and when they don't get that instant gratification, they're very quick to quit. In today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about that subject, maybe give you some hints on why we think this way and how to go about changing that thought process. Also going to show you how, by taking a little bit more time on the front end, can help you earn a massive amount of time on the back end. But before we get into that, do me a favor, head over to iTunes, give me a review, and I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Everybody always seems to be in such a rush. Why? Slow down some, relax. I don't know if it's me getting old, or maybe it's just times have changed, but I'm starting to feel like my grandfather growing up when he's like, these youngsters are going around and they just want everything right away, and success has got to be earned and you got to put in your work and all that stuff. But it's real. It's real. We live in a time where instant gratification it seems to be more than ever, meaning that people want that instant gratification, and if they don't get it right away, they quit and move on to the next thing. It's always shocked me in trading how the idea is, or I guess the expectation rather, is that you can become a very successful trader in a very short period of time. Now, don't get me wrong. I once thought the same exact thing. In fact, I don't think I would have gotten into the Forex market if that wasn't the case. I would have continued being a stock investor. So I can't fault anyone that thinks that way. But going through the journey that I have of kind of working my way up through really the whatever the bottom level you can think of trading knowledge. Again, I don't have any type of economic or formal background in the markets. The closest I have really is I took 2 economics classes in college, and I barely passed both of them. And so I don't know if that counts, but that's the closest I've got to knowing anything about the markets, anything about the economy, economics. So when I first got introduced into trading, I was really at that very ground level of knowing what's going on. So I know in my journey, it's taken me years and years and years to, I don't even want to say master the craft, because I don't think we can ever master the markets, but to become consistently profitable. So I understand how long it really takes. And I have a brand new perspective on those who assume that they're going to be successful right away. And it's kind of disrespectful if you think about it. But what's always had me curious is this: why do we put trading on this particular type of platform where it's really closer to gambling versus closer to any other skill, right? Let's name any other type of job or that requires a skill. If you're a mechanic, right? Do you not have to learn? Do you not have to shadow? I don't know how long that type of operation takes, but I would assume it takes more than a week, more than a day, more than a month to become very skilled at it. We can take being an athlete. That's more up my alley, right? I know as an athlete, I started in sports at the age of 6. So I've been fine tuning, right? I've started fine tuning my skills, my athletic skills from the age of 6. And typically you don't go pro until at a minimum, right? And say baseball, or I guess soccer is a little bit younger, but you're still training. But you don't go pro until about the age of 18, maybe 18 to 21. So you're still looking at about 12, 13 years of training a skill. To even be more specific, right? If we go directly to our industry, right? The trading industry. Let's say you want to work on Wall Street. Well, can you just decide that, hey, I'm going to go get a job on Wall Street? No. You've got to go through your normal schooling as a kid, right? You won't even count that because that's required, right? Required schooling. You have to go up till grade 12. But after that, you got to go to college. That's going to take you 4 years to go through college. typically, if you do want to get a job on Wall Street, you have a much greater chance if you have an MBA, right? So that's going to take you another, 2 years? Maybe you have to go through a year-long internship, right? Add another year on that. That's 7 years. 7 years of developing a skill, learning a skill, developing it, and then finally mastering it to the point where you can use it in your business for your career. Yet, so many traders, I see it every day. I get emails every day. I'm getting tired of responding to them. So many traders think that they can earn this type of success in a matter of weeks or months. Now, I will tell you this. I've worked with a lot of traders in my career. And the timeline for success is always different. There are those who are extremely dedicated, extremely sharp, and they can get it right away. There are others who never get it, to be honest with you. And of course, there's a whole bunch in the middle that take their time. But I would say typically this, I can teach you, right? When I teach traders, I tell them this, I can teach them the skill of trading probably in about 90 days, right? And that's teaching it in a way where you actually retain it. So not just teaching you the information and having it go through 1 year and out the other in a crash course, but teaching you the information in a way in which you retain it. And that 90-day period is important because it has to do with breaking habits, right? Typically it's about maybe 30 days to 30 to 60 days, 30 to 45 days to break an old habit. Another 30 to 45 days to install a new one. It's not really breaking, it's replacing, but that whole process is typically about, 60 to 90 days long. But after that period, that's just learning. And there's a big difference between learning and doing, right? Very similar to driving a car. I was taught how to drive a car in an empty parking lot. Easy, right? However, it was a lot different when I'm actually on the road with other cars and reckless drivers, and just the reality took a much different mindset than 6 o'clock in the morning in an empty parking lot. So for most traders, I say it typically takes maybe a year or so afterwards. I know for me, it took about 2 years before I really started feeling comfortable with what I was doing. And I think one of the best examples I can give is actually my trading buddy right now. I coached a guy named Jason Greystone, and he came in. This is a different type of cat. So let's put that out there first and foremost. Everyone is not like him. He has this ability to be extremely focused. And when he puts his goal towards something or his mind towards something, it's kind of all in on completing that goal. Nothing else in life matters. He was able to become a successful trader in probably about a year. And this is one of the sharpest people I know, right? So to put that in perspective. But going back to what we started with, that instant gratification, it's really a double-edged sword. It can certainly be something positive, but I think it's the reason that we have these false expectations, or that we don't follow through on many of our actions. Right? And for you guys that aren't familiar, instant gratification is basically being rewarded right away. So we take a specific action. That action is expected to be met with some type of reward, right? I've got a 3-year-old kid right now, so it's the same thing with him, right? If he does a good job of eating his dinner, he can get dessert. And he expects that now, right? We probably shouldn't have trained him to that. Now we got to keep buying snacks and whatnot. But we trained him to that. He eats his dinner, especially his veggies, right? Veggies make him big and strong, like daddy, right? He eats his dinner. He gets his dessert. So he associates that right away, where it's like, hey, if I do this one deed, I get something pleasurable, right? And that's what instant gratification means, or that's what it does to us. From a psychological standpoint, right? Humans, we act mainly off of what's called a pleasure principle. And that pleasure principle, you can think of it as it's like a driving force that compels us to gratify our needs, our desires, our wants, our urges, all of the things that we do. There's a fear element too, but for these purposes, we're going to talk about the pleasure principle, right? But everything we do, needs, wants, desires, urges, right? Breathing, eating, drinking, It's all because of this pleasure principle. And it could be basics like that. It could also be bigger things. It could be the latest toy, right? It could be the latest iPhone, the latest car. I know me growing up, I wasn't very motivated by things that I didn't want to do. But my parents did a good job of motivating me by basically bribery, right? I remember I was struggling in about 7th grade, right? After 8th grade is when you go to college. 7th grade is when they look at your grades, or 8th grade is when you go to high school, excuse me. I guess we did the same thing for college too, now that I think about it. But I remember them saying that if I got these certain grades, I would get a video game system. So I right away, I associated, hey, I'm going to do good on this test and I will be rewarded with a video game system. And it was it was a big picture reward, which I think helped me down the road, because most of the rewards that we are promised deal with instant gratification. Again, my kid, finish your dinner, right away you get dessert. In my example, I had to get good grades throughout a year. It was a year-long process. And then at the very end, I can reap the benefits of it. And that's the mindset that we have to have going into trading. It has to be a very long-term mindset. We have to understand that it is going to take a massive amount of time to become good at something. It's going to take hours and hours and days and weeks and months and potentially years to develop our skill, to learn and develop our skill to the point where we can actually reap the benefits of it. Now, most people don't have that patience. Akil, I'm not going to work for years and get zero reward. That's a waste of time. Well, is it? Think big picture. How many years do you have left on this earth? Me, I am what? I never remember my age. Gosh, what am I? 85, born in 85. That makes me 30, going to be 33 this year. Ooh, I'm getting old. I still feel like I'm 23, except I'm a lot more tired. So I'm 33. I'm going to be 33 years old. So I'm 32 years old right now, right? I plan on living. My body's pretty beat up. I plan on living. Actually, let's do this. Because I started trading back a long time ago. So I started trading back when I had to be about 23, right? 22, 23. And one of the main reasons that I got into trading was because I was looking at the future, and I wasn't happy at what I thought my future was going to be. You probably heard this story a million times, but I graduated college right at the beginning of our recession. I could not get a job, so I entered graduate school, thinking it would buy me a few more years for the recession to end and the jobs to open up. That didn't happen, and I was in the weird place where I was overqualified because I had a master's degree, which means that the companies would have to pay me more, which is what they didn't want to do. But I was also underqualified because I never had a real job, so I didn't have any experience. So I was kind of the one whose resume just got thrown out. So in order to make things work, right, to make ends meet, I worked 3 jobs, right? I worked 3 different jobs. I worked a heck of a lot of hours a week, but it got the job done. I was making about $30,000 a year, which, again, for me, kid, right out of college, I'll take it. More money than I've ever seen. And for a while, I was pretty content with that, right? Again, I had that instant gratification. I work extremely hard, but then I get a nice big paycheck, so I'm being rewarded for it. But one day I started thinking about the future. And I think it was when things got a little bit more serious with my girlfriend at the time, wife now. And I started thinking, hey, we've been dating for a while. We're at that point where her family started putting the pressure on, uncles and stuff. Hey, so when you guys get married? Because, that's what we do here in this family. I'm like, geez. So eventually I started thinking, right after enough subtle and some unsubtle hints about our future. And I've always been a planner. So I think about, hey, I'm kind of old school. I know women take care of themselves these days. I know that. But me, the old school man I am, I still kind of figure myself as being like the leader of a family. I should be able to provide. If worse comes to worse, if something happens to my wife, I should be able to provide for my entire family. So I started thinking about that down the road. How can I provide for her, for us? How can I provide when we eventually have kids? And I started doing the math. I'm like, man, $30,000. while living in a 2-bedroom apartment with 4 roommates, or 3 roommates, including myself. Kind of 4. We had one that just kind of hung around. $30,000 doesn't go as far when you have a family, you're living by yourself. You have to buy more than just ramen noodles and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and water. And one of the things that I thought, I was trading at the time, I wasn't very good at it. I wasn't taking it too seriously, but I was interested in it, certainly. One of the things that went through my mind is, how much time do I have left on this earth? I actually did this very depressing kind of project where you basically you work backwards from your death. It's a good exercise, right? You write your own obituary, but it's kind of morbid. So I don't know, but I thought about how long do I have to live, and let's just say I live to 80. All right, let's just say I live to 80. At the time I'm 22, so that gives me 58 more years to survive on this earth. And it kind of just made sense. I said, you know what? If it takes me 2 years to learn how to trade, and I get good enough at this skill that I can provide a life for myself and my family for the rest of my time on earth, it's well worth having 2 years of kind of struggle for 56 years of pleasure. Is it not? Right? It's a no-brainer. But I don't think a lot of people think that way. I don't think a lot of people think big picture, and really bigger picture, right? The cool thing about trading is it's a skill that I can pass down from generation to generation. I'm not going to force my kid to become a trader, but I will definitely teach him the skill. Therefore, if he ever needs, worst case scenario, and the same things with my real estate business. Worst case scenario, my kid has a means to continue creating wealth even when I'm gone, and that can be passed generation to generation. So it's more than 56 years left. It's really an eternity. It is an eternity if you do it the right way. But the key is, are we focused on the big picture? Why are we so focused on the reward right away when we should be focused on the bigger picture reward that is much, much, much bigger and much, much, much more important? Think about that for a second. So the next time you get frustrated about not seeing profits right away, the next time you see a guru on the internet saying, hey, it's going to take you 2 years to get good, instead of just ignoring that, instead of just clicking out of that website and trying to find the first YouTube video that promises you great riches in a week, be realistic. What you're doing is no different than any other job out there. In fact, I'd say it's even more difficult. Because for most of you guys that are retail traders, you're doing it on your own. You don't have an instructor. You don't have a coach. You don't have coworkers. You're out there by yourself on an island, and that is extremely hard. But remember, what you're doing is the same as any other job. You are an entrepreneur as a trader. You are growing and building your business. Most businesses fail within the first year. A massive amount of businesses fail within the first 3 years. So just because you're not seeing the results that you want right away doesn't mean you're a failure. Success takes time. And if you go through the steps the right way, it may take a little bit longer now, but you're going to open up so many more years down the road. And isn't that what should be important? I think so. As always, I appreciate you guys joining me for this podcast episode. I love it. I love it. Still new. So I'm just going to get better. But I love the conversations that we're having. If you love them as well, do me a big favor. Let me know. Leave me a review on iTunes. Give me a rating. Subscribe, comment, share this with your buddies, whether they're entrepreneurs, whether they're traders, whether they're real estate investors. No matter what it is, whether it's just a person that wants some motivation, share it, get the word out there. And let's build this podcast into, man, one of the best podcasts out there. If you continue to do that, I will continue to come back every week and provide you with greatness and excellence and a little bit of humor mixed in there as well. And until next time, remember, plan your trade, trade your plan. Take care.